The first year we started our first patio, $80,000 patio.
Are you serious?
4 levels, steps. A couple of friends were going to help me on the weekends. Turned out that I was in a weekend job, but probably didn't even make money on that job. When I did that patio, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to cut grass.
Because of simplicity.
Because of the simplicity. Mowing is boring. I'm not making any money. We were mid-season and I'm looking at my bank account. I'm like, I'm not making any money.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Cost of Doing Business show. We are in Nashville, Tennessee, and this is the second time I've been in Nashville, and it's snow on the ground. You remember the last time?
Last time it was pretty, it was snow, I'm pretty sure. So we missed it last year because of that.
There was like 9 inches, I think, and it was cold. Like we were coming into town just as it was pretty much over, and there was rows of snow on the highway like that high. Like I was coming out of my truck in the forward drive and just plowing through it. The cars it was crazy.
When we get 9 inches, or I think at the time it was like it snow for like 3 or 4 consecutive days, something like that. And when we get that much snow, Nashville go crazy. I mean, even if we go maybe 2 inches, the whole town freaks out. So 9 inches was pretty bad, for sure.
Exactly.
So we missed it. That week we actually worked 4 days, and we were like, man, we gotta miss the show.
And you didn't make it to the Teco Showcase. I didn't think so. Yeah. Give everybody on the podcast a little bit of an intro as to your company, what you do, how many team members you have, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So we're Annabelle Landscapes. It's named after my 2 daughters, Anna and Isabella. We wanted to kind of create something for the company, and we wanted just to create something unique. So that's what it is. We started.
That is really interesting. I always wonder what that was from. So that's good to know.
Not many people knows that. So that's where the name comes from, Annabelle. So we started back in 2020.
Okay.
That's so we've been 5 years in business now. We are landscape, lawn maintenance, lighting, and snow removal company. Yeah. We also do all the services like small stuff like here and there, try to get more into hardscape world, but definitely, using.
What would you say is the split between your maintenance, like reoccurring services, and installation?
For sure. So this year has been, 2024 was, I think it was probably, I would say maintenance was about 30%.
Okay.
And then, design build was probably, the rest of it, 60, 55, something like that.
And you do some snow, on top.
Doing the snow, a little bit of that stuff. But mainly, like I said, on the snow, we're a subcontractor for another company that we help out, and that's how we enter on the snow business kind of deal. But but I say the majority of my background. So I come from a big company where I used to work in a corporate America company, and then I used to work for there for a long time. And my biggest background is landscape, install and all that stuff. So
interesting. What company was that?
Brightview.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I work for.
So when you say corporate America, that's what you're talking about.
Yep.
Got it. Makes sense. Yep.
So everybody just calls it like that. I worked there for 14 years. So
wow.
Yep. So decided just to do my own thing.
And how many team members do you have now?
I have 8 team members right now. So we have 8 team members right now. I got 1 part-time.
And when you started in 2020, did you start with just you?
Yeah, it started me and my dad. Okay. Me and my dad is the one that kind of helped me on the whole thing. It's funny how we started. Like the first year we started our first patio, $80,000 patio.
Are you serious?
4 levels, steps. Did not know much of hardscape, just a little bit. It was supposed to be like a couple friends were going to help me on the weekends. Turned out that I was in a weekend job, but that's kind of what I tell everybody. Those are the things that I struggle a lot. I struggle with because I didn't have the guys. I didn't have. I wanted to do it so bad.
The big job.
The big job, but I didn't have any system in place. I don't even know. I probably break even or probably didn't even make money on that job.
How did you bid that job?
That's a good question. Just pretty much just like materials and then a little bit of labor here and there. Thinking, that's how I'm gonna do it. Didn't know anything about the business. It's just like $80,000 sounds about right. Which I was very detailed on how I presented to them.
Yeah.
And they were like, "You're the highest one, but you give us more info than we needed it." I was like, "All right, cool. Well, at least I was doing something, you know." But overall, like I didn't know anything on that aspect, you know. But that's me and my dad were like, "Well, we're on this, so we gotta find a way to finish it." So we were able to find people along the way during the process.
Did that give you confidence closing the $80,000 job on your first, you know?
So, and that's something that no, actually,
No?
he actually gave me more fear.
Really?
Going back to the whole thing in there, it's just like when I did that patio, I said I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to cut grass
because of simplicity.
Because of the simplicity,
Yeah.
And then because I was like, I'm doing this big job. It took us 3.5 months to do it.
Wow.
Battling snow, of course, battling. All the, labor. I mean, battle a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
But it was just like, I don't want to do this anymore because, I mean, it was that big stress in there. Because obviously you got $80,000, right? Like, you don't know what to do with it because obviously a lot of parts comes, materials, but then you're like, holy crap, I got all this money and I don't even know what I'm doing. So it's hard, But yeah, like I said,
the responsibility of
that end. But of course, that just limit us to like, we were like, no, we're just gonna keep mowing,
and is that what you did then for the rest of that year?
I did that the rest of the year.
And then what happened? What got you started?
I had a lot of leads coming because I mean that job turned out pretty nice, but I had a lot of leads. But I was like, no, I don't want to go through all that whole thing again. I don't want to do it. And then I just like give up on that. That 2020 we just finished it like that. So we're like, we're not doing this anymore. So after that, like I say, 2022 came in place and went to Cruise Lawn.
And that's where you and I met, right?
That's where we met. Yep. That's where like I was like, you know what? I think I want to do this again.
So when you went to Cruise Lawn, that inspired you to get back into?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, before that a little bit, because I was like, man, mowing is boring. I'm not making any money. We were mid-season and I'm looking at my bank account. I'm like, I'm not making any money.
Yeah.
Like I need to figure out.
Yeah.
So I reach out to a lot of people. They say CRMs. I don't know what a CRM is. Like, okay, so what's that? Like, tell me a little bit more info. So people are telling me about you guys. People are telling about, the competitors and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to educate myself and then try to learn more on the systems, what I need to do. Because obviously mowing was not it. Like, I don't think mowing was my option, So I started looking into it. I went to H&A. Back at the time it was a Quit Expo. Yeah. And I was more on the lawn care side. And then some people were like, you got to meet with these people. You got to meet with these people. So I started connecting with those people and they told me about Cruise Lawn University. I was like,
so at Equip Expo is where you learned about Cruise Lawn.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. So shout out for Cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where I met him and all that stuff. So I was like, I looked at his program and I was like, holy crap, it's expensive. It's like, I don't know if I really want to spend all that money just for me to do it, but I just bite the bullet. I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to do it.
This was going to Cruise Lawn boot camp.
Yep. Yeah. And then that's where, it all started. It's like, you know what, we just got to keep doing it. One of his speakers mentioned something about limitless thinking all the time. And then I was talking, and then that makes me realize that big job could have led me to bigger, lot more, but my mind was so limitless that I just decided not to do it anymore because I was scared. Instead of going after, the 100 now or 120, I just shrink it down to like, oh no, I'm just gonna stick with this mower and keep going. So I felt like that was. So
you're between a rock and a hard place. The fear of the risk of a big job and what happens when something goes wrong. But going back to what you knew, mowing the grass was like you were caught on the other end of opening your bank account and be like, this is not working.
Yeah, and those are the things that a lot of people ask me all the time. It's like, how do you go from mowing to hardscape and landscape? And I always told the guys, it's like, first you got to look at your bank account. Second, you got to get a CRM or system in places in order to kind of move up to the next level, because a lot of people are just think it's easier. Mowing is easy, simple. I can make money, and you can make money. But if you want your business to grow, you won't make any money cutting grass, So that's kind of where I was like, we gotta look for other things. And then, as a matter of fact, I was talking to somebody last night regarding that. He's in the same spot as I was 4 years ago, where his business is not growing. He's been in business for a while, and the first thing I told him is like, get a CRM. Start looking and exploring that option because that's how you you become different from others, you know, knowing your numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of the logo that you have is knowing your numbers.
The thing I think that a CRM or a software that your business runs out of does is it really helps the owner install systems and processes into their business and diminish the amount that the business depends on the owner. Because if everything depends on the owner, a client called to complain about the driveway didn't get blowed off. The invoices didn't get sent out yet this week. Like if everything depends on the owner, that's impossible for the business to grow.
Yep.
And so that's your clue. Like if you're the only one that can do things, well then your business will not be able to grow. And back to your point about a CRM or a system, it's like saying, hey, let me go find the one that best matches my business model and then plug it into my business. And it's like a plug and play, pull systems and processes out of the box and employ them. And suddenly an office admin can get all the billing done. Even a salesperson or somebody else can get all the quotes done. Or even if you don't put someone else into that position right away, it makes your own life easier.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
But that being said, it takes a little bit for it to get easier. Remember, it's not like it's overnight,
for sure.
Because what you know is easier than doing something you don't know. Even if the old way is broken and the new way is better, it's still going to be harder. So don't use. What I'm trying to say is, don't use the well, this is harder. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean it's worse. That probably just means is you're dealing with the change management, Yeah,
and it's funny, kind of, to your point. Yeah, also, that challengeful that because I was talking to this person yesterday. It's like we're not a technical person. We're not. We're not. Not necessarily the best one in managing and all that stuff. And it's kind of hard to used to say, the CRM is going to resolve your issues. It's not, the CRM is going to help you, but you have to feed the machine. You have to feed it. You have to give, you got to kind of give him the stuff that you needed. So to the point is like, yes, the CRM helps 100%, but you have to kind of feed it also. Because otherwise it's not like I just got CRM, now my business is going to go boom, So that's kind of where I was telling him is like, you gotta start knowing that it's not hard, but it's not easy either.
Yeah.
So
it's like you buy a new truck, but you got to turn the key on, you got to put it in gear, and you got to drive, you got to turn the wheel. Like you got to have all these inputs, otherwise it's worthless.
Yep. It sure is. So I think fear was one of my biggest challenge at the beginning, the risk, I didn't want to deal with it. I used to get frustrated, and at the point I was frustrated on that one job. I didn't want to do it anymore. So what I did is I just simplified and just start mowing. So that's kind of how it goes with CRM systems also. Because I don't know if you remember, I was going to cancel you guys because obviously I was struggling. I was like, dude, I don't like this. All those struggles, but then you come out there and you're like, man, let me simplify this. Let's work it out. And then, because I think you and I had a conversation a couple of times. It's like, I'm done with this. Because coming back with the paper, it was easier. You would think it was easier, but obviously it wasn't, So, but I think
what can you describe? Because there's many people that are listening to this that I think probably feel the same challenge. Like, what was making you think like, okay, I'm just going to cancel this and go back to the pen and paper, or what? Like, what specifically was difficult? Like, was it getting the team to clock in and out? Like, what was the thing that was hard?
I think for the most part, that was what was one of the challenges. The guys were not, I have my dad helping me, and then he's not really like he likes to stick with one thing. The change for him to be like, okay, now you have to clock in and clock out each time you go to the job, especially for maintenance. He was like, man, this is too much. And the guys were like the same way, that they didn't want to clock in, clock out. So the change was kind of hard, the challenge for us. I remember talking to you before, it's like, they don't pay them. When you start fooling with their money, they understand, oh crap, if I don't clock in, I don't get paid. Okay, but that's part of my job. Now I'm gonna have to do it. So I think that was kind of the struggle at the beginning. It was just like the clock in, clock out part, because it was getting messy, and the guys couldn't, because there were a couple of jobs that were like consecutive, within 2 minutes apart, and they were like, they could not clock in, clock out, clock out. So it kind of got a little messy at the end. That was kind of one of the struggles. Another struggle was like, obviously bidding jobs correctly and stuff like that, because obviously it was kind of hard,
Getting the job to be configured in the way that you intended it to be.
For sure.
Yeah, like maybe you intended it to be like per visit, but you had selected T&M or whatever, like those kinds of configurations.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like I said, I think after we got the whole thing going, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing without CRM, without SynkedUP, because obviously that helped my business take it to the next level. Now we're financially better. Every time I'm like, keep budgeting things. I just think overall, we haven't made it to the top, of course, but we're financially better now than we were when we didn't have the CRM system,
When did it start feeling easier? Like, when did it start feeling like, okay, it's hitting a stride and this is going to work?
I think it felt easier once everybody was comfortable using it. Because we actually use it a lot. Believe it, I know some people use it for a little bit here. Some people, we try to use the whole entire software. So I was able to actually manage, my daughter, she helps me on that financial part and admin part. So she's good at it. She got to the point where she can do things fast, templates. We try to do a little bit of templates, but not much, so that kind of helps a little bit, especially on the bigger jobs. We're bidding bigger installs right now where we have, things like how long it takes to, plant this tree, how long it takes to do this. And we are able to get things going faster, so I think now it's easier because obviously, we added a sales girl right now that she's helping us. She's our business developer, so she's able to learn that fairly fast. So I think it got easier now, and the guys are clocking in, clocking out. So it's just overall, I feel like okay, I'm stress free right now, obviously, because everybody already got the memo. Everybody already got it.
Once the change management kind of becomes in the past, that's because, I think you're not alone in this struggle, which is why I'm enjoying talking about this, is because many others struggle the same way. And one of the things that I know you and I had this conversation, and I've had this conversation with many people, is like, when you're like, you know what, this system's not going to work. Well, why is it not going to work? Ask yourself that. Well, it's just easier to go back to pen and paper. Why? Well, because my guys don't want to clock in and out. Well, that's a different problem than saying the system is broken. It's like, that's a leadership conversation about leading the guys through change. And one of my favorite ways of approaching that problem is starting off on common ground, because sometimes employees think that, oh, my boss just wants to know every minute where I work, and it's just kind of like Big Brother, and it's like no, that's not the point at all. Like, okay, let's start off on common ground. Let's have a team meeting. Everybody's in the same room, and we say, hey, we all want to make more money, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Common ground established. Well, for us to make more money, the company has to make more money.
Yeah, for sure.
And for the company to make more money, we all have to know our numbers, and we're not going to be able to know our numbers if we don't know where our labor's going. So we need to track our time. And oh, by the way, here, let's do it this way. And whether you do it on pen and paper, whether you do it on an app, like the company has to know where the labor's going. And usually pen and paper, yes, it's maybe easier so that you can run payroll, but it's harder to try to track that labor to each individual job and be like, hey, that mowing contract, we had 30 hours in it and we went 45.
Yeah, the simplicity of that, like you're saying, is phenomenal. Good example, we had a snow Friday. Back in the days when I used to do the pen and paper, it was like, man, tracking everything. I'm like, crap, it took us forever to do billing. Last night I was like, one of my vendors called me and said, you got my invoices ready? I'm like, I don't, but I'll get to you tonight. Me and my daughter got in it. We were done in 2 hours.
Wow.
Easy. What I ended up doing is I ended up doing the templates. And I just went to look at the guy's timesheet, because when the snow comes, the guys, they write it down. Because it gets complicated. But all I got to do is just that entry. That entry, what they did, boom, send it. So that's how simple it is. I'm able to enjoy my family the whole day. And we only took us 2 hours to do all that work, all that snow event. And we're like, this is good. We like it. The client calls us, hey, man, like something is wrong here. Okay, well, let me make the changes. Just boom, send it right away. So that's the simplicity that it helps. Knowing your numbers, 2, know how to use the software, and 3, put people in places. Because that was the biggest struggle at the beginning. Also, it's like I want to do it all. As a business owner, I want to do this, I want to do that. Over time, I've been listening to people and be like, hey, put people in places. Put an admin in there. I was talking to this guy yesterday. I was telling him, hey, I don't do taxes, so that's why I hire a CPA. I don't do the bookkeeping. Like I don't know because he was asking me, how can I do my budget? I was like, go to your P&L. well, I don't know what P&L is. I was in the same boat before.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, you know, that's why you have to put people in places. You have to be like, okay, you don't know what a P&L is? That's fine. That's nothing to be ashamed, because, I mean, we all have those struggles, you know, but yeah, like I told them, it's not too late. It is too late if you don't know it, right? But if now you're identifying you have a problem,
Yes.
now you have to fix it. So how you fix that is putting people in places, getting a CRM system, get something where know your numbers. Because one of the things that we sometimes do is I charge $55 an hour. Why? Why can I be 60? Why can I be 80? Why can I be more? Well, that's what everybody's charging. So everybody else, you know, and also I always tell them, I always preach that is like, no, man, you got to know your number. You got to know what's all about, you know. I mean, some people got bigger overheads, some people got smaller overheads, but at the end of the day, you got to know what
your rate is.
Yeah, so that's kind of the things where, you know, as somebody kind of asked me all those questions, it's like, yeah, start investing.
Yeah.
Start investing on that stuff, because obviously some people don't want to invest on some of that stuff either, you know. So
you have had quite a pretty cool growth story.
Yeah.
You know, it's very obvious the learning that you employed, and like you realize, like, you know what, I'm not going to do this all by myself, or I'm going to put people in place. And that's the thing that's hard for a lot of business owners to get to. You know, like, we start the business, we're proud of it, like we want to be involved, we want to have have our hand in every part of the process, but after a while, what happens is that's actually what prevents you from growing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it doesn't take very long actually to get to that point.
No, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of where, you know, been listening to your podcasts before, and a lot of people always talked about being the bottleneck of the company.
Yes.
And that's something like, man, it's hard not to get away from the company, but it's nice to be able to take, okay, I'm going to take a week off and the business is still running. Yeah. Which is a great thing, you know. So that's kind of where, if you asked me 4 years ago, it wasn't like that, you know, but it's slowly getting there. And because obviously we're putting people in places to where the boat can go, you know, because my whole mentality is like, I don't want to grow too much. You know, I always tell my guys, I want to be like a boutique landscape company. So we're still small, but we'll still pick and choose what we want. Because obviously I don't want to have too many accounts and not be able to service them all. So I always tell myself, it's like, I want to be a boutique. I want to be exclusive. I don't want to just do a lot of things, you know, because obviously that's not the goal. Because quality suffers when you grow a lot too, you know. But it's one of those things, man. Yeah, a lot of contractors will say that I don't want to grow too much thing. And I think there's some wisdom in that, prudence, but I think also sometimes what I'm trying to say is that answer doesn't mean the same thing for every person saying it, because sometimes, it's the voice of wisdom saying that, like you're saying. Yep. But then sometimes I think it's the default response when I ran into my complexity ceiling, or I am the bottleneck, I don't know how to fix it. So my response is, I just don't want to grow too much because I don't know how to overcome the bottleneck. Yep. You know, so two different people could say that same thing, and one is wise, and the other one's like, well, actually, you're limiting your own. Correct. Yep. I mean, because I don't want to be in the comfortable zone. You know, I always like to be challenged.
Yes, exactly.
And I think, to your point, yes, you don't want to get so comfortable where, we're good now, because then it's going to be becoming kind of like what at the beginning on the mowing part, because you felt comfortable, you get a steady income coming, but you're not growing. Yeah. You're not going any further. Yeah. So I mean, like you said, that could be two different things for sure. So,
what would you say is the most difficult challenge you've overcome in your journey?
Making the decisions, decision maker. It's one of my hardest, thing in there. I mean, I think it's just that putting people in places. I always go back with the labor part is the struggles that we all have. One of the challenges also is just to be able to take that risk and invest on things like, a CRM or, or CPA, or I think that's the challenges, I mean, like I said, those are the biggest struggles that we all have, because there's plenty of work out there. Yeah. There's a lot of work out there. You just got to know how to present it. But I think it's just more, those are the struggles that we all get, that I get at least, that it's just those parts.
Yeah. Decision making it can be hard. Like, one of my favorite quotes about this is Dan Martell says, just make a decision and then make it the right decision.
Yep.
Like you could make the wrong decision in some cases. He was saying like, deciding what to do for marketing. You can make the wrong decision and still make it the right decision just by committing to it and following the whole way through.
Yep.
But if you're always like making a decision and second guessing it, backing back out, making another one, then second guessing it, backing back out, that will cripple you.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that's the biggest challenge on my end is just making that decision, the faith that you want to do, I mean, because sometimes we struggle. I mean, as a business owner right now, it's like, we're like, man, we're slow down on work. What should we do now? Should we just lay off people? I'm like, no, I'm just going to keep pursuing the snow business. Let's pursue this. Like that decision to make it. Because I mean, I could have just stayed home and snow and oh, well, it is what it is. But no, that decision of, no, you know what? I'm going to invest on that plow. I mean, I pay a lot of money for it, but when I actually do the work, I can pay for it, And then, and then we budget it. We budget all those things now. Like, oh, we want this next year. We'll just start budgeting. That just helps, obviously. So making that decision is always the struggle for me, But because obviously it's a risk, so it's a big risk for us. So,
what is the best advice you've ever been given?
Business wise, I mean, this gentleman always told me, if you want to be in business, just do what if you tell your client, just tell your client, do exactly what you're gonna do, at the beginning, because that's one of my clients told me, it's like, if you say you're gonna do this, do it. Like, don't like say, oh, I didn't say that, So that's something that just keep it, just do it, just be loyal and then tell your clients that that's what you're going to do. And then, and it has helped me a long way because, I always tell my clients, it's like, we're going to struggle for a little bit. We're just going to look pretty bad, but I always tell them it's going to look amazing. The goal is to make your backyard the prettiest thing ever. And I always tell them I don't come here to make the buck and leave. I always come, I want to make a friendship with you or, a recurring client. I mean, all my clients are sending me pictures of how their retaining walls are looking in snow. Some of my clients are sending me pictures how their backyard install looks. And that to me is like, man, that's a rewarding. So that advice that I took from somebody else is just do exactly what you're going to do. I think it has helped me a long way. And they call me every year. It's like, hey, we want to do more business with you. Hey, I refer you to my neighbor. Hey, I refer you to this person. So I think that helped me a whole lot because, like I said, I try to commit to do what I was told to do, So that's one of the advices I grabbed from somebody that just helped me a lot.
Say what you're going to do and do what you say. Do what you said you would do. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And to your point, like, establishing a relationship with your client instead of just getting enough work done to get that last check. Two very different approaches.
For sure.
And your clients can feel that.
Oh yeah. So my first patio, just to give you a little background on that one again, she's my CPA now. So to tell you that point, until today, that was 4 years ago. Like now she's my CPA.
Huh.
So we did her first patio, and then she's still my CPA nowadays. So it's this pretty cool story. Like I said, it was hard beginning, but you just kind of help us to kind of just move on,
So going back to that first year in 2020, if you could do one thing different, what would you tell yourself? You go see yourself as you were just starting out in your first.
Man. It's tough. I mean, people are going to say, this guy kept loving SynkedUP. But yeah, I mean, I should have done a CRM system day one. I always grab this from somebody. It says, we all want to have the best trucks. We all want to have the best equipment. We all want to have all this stuff. And we pay a lot of money for that. But we don't want to invest on our business. Whereas, like a CRM system, $399 is like, so for some people, a small company, they're like, holy crap, I don't want to pay that much a month. That's a commitment, because that's the problem. We don't want it to be a commitment, right? So, and then that's kind of where, if I was day one, I would have invested on my CRM first, and then be able to know what I'm charging. Because I don't even know if that job was 80. That job could cost 120. I didn't know back at the time. I didn't know anything about it. I just ordered things and I didn't know what I needed to know, So it's just like, I don't even know. I'm pretty sure if I go back to it and start doing my numbers, I probably lost money on that one. But that's something I would have told myself, 4 years ago. I should have started knowing my numbers, or at least have something to where I like the break-even part. That would have been like a game changer back at the time. I didn't know anything about it. So it's just like, so that's what I would have told myself is like, invest on that stuff. Invest on a CRM that is going to help you grow.
Yep.
But
if you're charging $60 an hour and you break even at 62, I mean, you're going backwards. The more work you sell, the further backwards you go.
Yep. So that's kind of where I would have told myself for sure.
Yeah.
So, SynkedUP has helped us, man. You're not paying me for telling you this, but of course, your software has helped us a lot.
Oh.
We have been like, every time everybody talks their stories and how grateful they are about knowing, their numbers or stuff like that is the same story with me. It's a true story. We're financially better. We can, we're a small company, 4 years in business, and we're growing a little bit at a time, but we're growing. And I think we're financially better too, because obviously we're recouping our money. We can replace trucks, if they broke down. And that was only done because obviously the CRM, obviously there has to be work, but at the same time, it kind of help us be better.
Yeah.
Right? So I really want to say thank you for that, because that really helped a lot for sure. So
you're welcome. And
you've been in the journey with us on growing that business, for sure.
And I just want to say thank you back to you guys for putting your faith and trust in us, because there was an element to where it was that, to where you were like, man, this is hard. Like, and you and I had those conversations, and you put your faith and trust in us. Like, we were going to help you push through this and get it implemented the way that you wanted. And that's no small thing. So I appreciate that faith and trust, and we don't take it lightly, and look forward to, being a part of the Annabelle growth journry for a long time.
Thank you. And it's just a reminder, 2 years ago, I told you the reason I stay is because of you. Because you are a great man. You've been in the industry for a long time. You're the CEO of that company. Contact me, telling me, don't cancel, let me help you out. And you told me to remind you that every time, it's like, we're here 2 years later. You're still, the face of your company. You're still, helping every landscapers out there. I mean, I don't get that. I don't get the CEO for this place to call me to come stay here. But I do get the CEO for SynkedUP to come and help me on that. So, like I said, don't change. Well, I know you want.
Thank you.
You had a lot of passion to help a lot of landscapers, which is a great thing. Because you're not here. I mean, obviously to do business, but at the same time, you're here to help all the landscapers or the hardscaping people, so. I
appreciate that, Marco.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, so. It's the same way like growing your landscaping business, like growing SynkedUP's business, you're one person, you can only do one, got 24 hours in a day, same for me. And so I want to try to keep what you're talking about alive for the long haul. But at the same time, I got to grow, my SynkedUP team.
Yeah.
That's Manal's here in the back. Behind the camera recording, and this is what growth looks like,
for sure.
I appreciate that challenge, and I take it to heart, and that's the vibe we want to keep alive in SynkedUP going forward.
All right, sounds good.
Where can people find you before we wrap?
At Instagram, Annabelle Landscapes, and then Facebook, Annabelle Landscapes also, and then of course TikTok is the new thing, right? So TikTok about the same thing, Annabelle Landscapes. So that's where they can find us.
Right on. Well, thank you, Marco.
All right, thank you, sir.
It's good. Thanks for coming out here early and grabbing this.
For sure. Thank you.